It started with compliments, harmless and encouraging. "Your gameplay is amazing. Big fan here." I appreciated the support. As a small gaming YouTuber, every comment mattered. Then the emails began. At first, they were long, detailed, and harmless enough, someone sharing their admiration, but they became personal. Too personal. The fan who signed their messages as Your1 mentioned things I'd never talked about publicly. The park near my house, the name of my childhood pet. I brushed it off as coincidence. Maybe they were guessing. Maybe I'd mentioned something in a stream without realizing it. But the unease settled in, growing heavier with every message. The breaking point came during a live stream. I was mid-game, bantering with chat, when a donation notification popped up. The message read, "Turn around." I froze, every muscle tensing. Slowly, I glanced over my shoulder. Nothing. The room was empty, silent except for the hum of my PC. I ended the stream immediately, my heart pounding, and called the police. They searched the apartment but found nothing. No signs of forced entry, no one hiding in the shadows. But they did find something unsettling. My webcam had been tampered with. Someone had accessed it remotely. I moved the next week, a tiny apartment across the city. It felt safer, starting fresh. I didn't announce the move, didn't share anything online except pre-recorded content. I thought I could outpace the fear, leave it behind. Then the gifts started arriving, packages unmarked left at my door. Inside were things that made my stomach churn, items I'd mentioned offhand in old streams, personal things like the specific brand of tea I drank or a keychain identical to one I'd lost years ago. The police couldn't do much. No direct threats, they said, no proof. I hired a private investigator out of desperation. I couldn't live like this anymore, jumping at shadows, avoiding windows, locking and relocking every door. The investigator found the fan, a tech-savvy individual who had hacked into my accounts, my devices, everything. They'd been watching, listening, following my every move. The fan lived in a different city, far enough that they hadn't physically approached me yet. But they'd planned to. The police arrested them, but the damage was done. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, even after changing passwords, ditching my computer, and erasing my online presence. I quit streaming, deleted my channel. I couldn't face the camera without imagining someone staring back, someone I couldn't see. People ask if I'll return someday. They say the fan is gone, locked away, and that I'm safe now. But safety feels like a lie, a fragile illusion that can shatter with one misplaced click or one unread email. The tournament was intense, but I pulled through, beating my final opponent in a grueling match. It wasn't my first victory, but it felt like the biggest. The chat was a mix of congratulations and trash talk standard for the gaming world. One username stood out, Zero Mercy. "You got lucky," their message read. I shrugged it off. Losing stings, I understood that. But the messages didn't stop. They moved to my inbox, more personal now. "Nice place you've got," one said, followed by a street name I didn't recognize at first. Then it hit me. It was my address. I reported it to the platform, blocked the account, and tried to shake off the unease. But that night, while streaming, my chest tightened as I noticed something odd. A faint movement in the reflection of my monitor. I spun around. Nothing. My apartment was small, just a living room and a bedroom. Everything seemed in order, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. When the stream ended, I walked to the door to check the lock. It was ajar. My hands shook as I pushed it shut, sliding the deadbolt into place. I hadn't left it open. I knew I hadn't. Returning to my desk, I noticed something new. A USB drive sitting next to my keyboard. I didn't put it there. My stomach churned as I plugged it into my computer. The file was a video. Grainy, low light. It took a second to realize what I was seeing. My bedroom. Me, asleep. The footage was from the night before. Someone had been inside. I called the police, but they couldn't do much. No visible break-in, no fingerprints. They suggested I install cameras and keep an eye out for anything unusual. "Be vigilant," they said, which felt like telling me to hold my breath indefinitely. The building's security footage showed a man wearing a hoodie and sunglasses entering behind another tenant. He stayed out of the camera's range near my unit. I recognized the rival's username on the tournament roster, but the police said it wasn't enough. Without direct evidence, they couldn't act. Days passed. I canceled streams, withdrew from tournaments, and stopped going outside. The idea of someone knowing my every move, of them being bold enough to break in, paralyzed me. I packed up and left the city, moving into a small, anonymous apartment hours away. I changed my number, wiped my online presence, and disappeared from the gaming world. It wasn't worth it anymore. Sometimes I think about my rival. I wonder if they're still out there, watching, waiting. The police never caught them, and the uncertainty haunts me. Gaming used to be my escape, my passion. Now it feels like a door I'll never open again. It's hard to play when you're always looking over your shoulder, wondering if the game ever really ended. The first 12 hours flew by. My charity gaming marathon was going great, donations were rolling in, and the chat was alive with encouragement. The energy drinks and adrenaline carried me through. By hour 20, I was dragging, but I pushed on. At hour 30, the knocking started, light taps, almost rhythmic. I paused the game and listened, but it stopped. "It's nothing," I muttered, more to myself than anyone else. The chat noticed my nerves. "You good?" someone asked. I brushed it off, blaming fatigue. They bought it. So did I. The shadows came next, flickers in the corners of my screen, quick and fleeting. At first, I thought it was part of the game, but the movements didn't match. "You're seeing things, Liam," I told myself. The chat wasn't so sure. "That shadow wasn't normal," one user typed. Others agreed. "Probably the game glitching," I replied, but my voice shook. At hour 36, I left to use the restroom. I wasn't gone long, 2, maybe 3 minutes. But when I came back, the chat was exploding. "Who was that?" "Liam, there was someone behind you." "Check the playback." My stomach churned as I scanned the room. Nothing. Everything looked exactly as I'd left it. I forced a laugh. "You're messing with me," I said, but my hands trembled as they gripped the controller. I kept going, ignoring the unease creeping over me. The game blurred together, a mash of colors and sounds, as exhaustion took over. At hour 42, I blacked out. When I woke up, the sun was streaming through the window. My head pounded, my body ached, and my throat was dry. Blinking against the light, I sat up and froze. My apartment was a mess. The coffee table was overturned, my couch cushion slashed, and my streaming setup was wrecked. My camera, microphone, and even my laptop were gone. Panic surged as I checked the door. The lock was broken and the frame splintered. Someone had been here. I remembered the chat's warnings, though they weren't messing with me. Someone had been in the apartment during my stream. They'd waited for me to collapse, then helped themselves. I filed a police report, but there wasn't much they could do. No cameras in the building and no real evidence. My marathon was supposed to raise money for a good cause, but it cost me everything. I learned my lesson. I took down the stream and decided to approach my dream differently. Streaming wasn't worth risking my safety.